Chapter 2, Part 3. The teaching of cobbler called Vallabha Das to Shankar Bhatt. After completing the singing, the cobbler came to me. The compassion was overflowing from his eyes. His two eyes were suggesting the experience of self. A doubt crept in my mind whether he was some yogi. He turned to me and said, "Sir, my name is Vallabha Das. I am an artisan working with the hides of animals. I was born in a low caste. There is no doubt about it. Nevertheless, I want to tell you some information. I already knew that your name is Shankar Bhatt and that you are traveling to visit SRIPADA SRIVALLABHA. Not only that, I also know why you were harassed by crows and snakes on the way." I was astonished. I thought that he probably studied astrology and acquired some proficiency in the subject. Vallabha Das said immediately, "Sir, I am not an astrologer. Shri Kshetra Pitikapuram is the birthplace of great scholars. It is a holy place where Sangha Vidrabha Samrat Pandit Maladi Bhapna Vadhani actually lived. The Vedas came tired in the process attempting to describe the Supreme Being. They could not pinpoint the phenomenon correctly and simply ruled out everything by saying, this is not, such is the nature of the Supreme Being Pitikapuram. Is the sacred SRIVALLABHA. Dry philosophy and meaningless debates cannot earn the grace of SRIPADA SRIVALLABHA. There is no need for scholarly excellence to obtain the mercy of SRIPADA. On the other hand, pedantic pride will throw us far away from him. The crows that picked at you were great pandits who lived in Pitikapuram during their previous lives. They could have recognized the divine nature of SRIVALLABHA and they could not realize him as Lord Datta. Thus they wasted their whole lives. They could recite Vedas upside down, but what is the use? They were repeating words like Karma, Ghana, Jata, Swadhya and exhibiting their arrogance. After death, they went to heaven. Indra praised them. He showered praise on them by saying, "Oh, you are a Kramanta. You are Ganapati. You are Jati. Oh, you are an expert in Tarka. What a fortune! How many hundreds and thousands of times you have recited Veda. What a merit, what a merit. Only because of that merit, you could step into Sarga." All the denizens of Indraloka admired them sky high. However, this Pandit suffered the pangas of hunger. Divine ambrosia was available in heaven. They heard that one is freed from hunger and thirst by drinking it. They submitted their problem directly. Indra has none paid any heed to them. To that Indra replied, "Veda is the form of the Lord's inhalation and exhalation. The Lord is infinite and deathless. Therefore, Vedas are also infinite. Vedas are the basis for all dharmasa. By chanting Vedas, you have praised the Lord. As a reward for it, we the celestials are also praising you highly. Otherwise, is it possible for you to get in commerce from me? If one desires food, he must provide food to others. If one donates a grain, we the celestials enhance it to 1,000 grains and return them to the donor. As a reward, when you have not donated anything, how can we help? Because of your Vedic recitation, you derived immense benefit. Therefore, you can recite freely in Indra Loka as long as it exists. Afterwards, you can go to another world. In this way, you can remain internally free." Those who heard the words of Indra faced a difficult situation. It occurred to them that living internally without food and suffering prolonged hunger and thirst, and it was indeed an unbearable punishment. Indra said again, "You lived in the holy Padgaya Kshetra, but you performed annual ceremonies to the manners of your ancestors without care and concern. You were always calculating the expenditure incurred for such functions. You were also absorbed in the thought that you were eating delicious food items, but you were devoid of the care and devotion required for the performance of those solemn ceremonies. As a result, your forefathers did not attain noble positions after their death. Your heirs are also behaving like that. Your children also did lament that you lived too long and a large amount of money was wasted on medical facilities provided to you. They even wondered, oh, how much food was wasted. Sriman Narayan himself incarnated a Sripada Srivallabha in the midst of you. When he was showing the way for salvation, you abused him. You indulged in fruitless and counter arguments, even though all the auspicious traits like omnipresence and omniscience, omnipotence, and qualities of an incarnation were clearly visible. You became blind people who could not recognize Sripada Srivallabha as an avatar of Sri Datta. It is ordained that you remain as crows in the forms of manners of your ancestors till you drink the blood of a person whose body was purified by the chanting of the sacred name of Sripada Srivallabha. Sri Vallabha Das said, Shankara, but it was for that reason they were born as crows, and on account of their previous merit they drank your blood and obtained noble status. Then I noticed that Vallabha Das was not an ordinary person and that the grace of Sripada Srivallabha was completely on him. Sri Vallabha Das added, Sir, the serpents who were attracted by the scent emanating from your body attained salvation. I say, Sir, great Vallabha Das, why should this incident take place if my body were to be used as food for crows, serpents and other living creatures? It would be a harrowing experience for me. I am under constant fear of being attacked by any creature at any time. Sri Vallabha Das said, Sir, this is all a sportive play of Sri Pada. Don't have such fear. Such accidents would not take place in the future. Only the one who gives life will have the authority to take out life. Therefore, such authority is not vested in anyone except God. However, some of your ancestors worshipped goddess Kali on the burial ground with the help of the mantra used. They killed many persons whom they disliked. They earned great sin because they were responsible for the unnatural deaths of those people. Due to that sin, they took birth as snakes, but as you were also born in their family. You were all blood relatives. Moreover, you obtained the mercy of Sripada. Because of this small merit, this incident took place and they got salvation. A Brahmin should be a seeker of truth. A Kshatriya should be bound by dharma. A Vaishya should attain to cultivation, protection of cattle and be skilled in the sale and purchase activities. Therefore, he should be a calm person. A Shudra should be a loving one and render services. Even then, there is no distinction between caste, great, rich and poor for the grant of divine grace. A Brahmin can follow the duty of Kshatriya and can become a king. When a Kshatriya desires knowledge of Brahmin, he can adopt the duty of a Brahmin. Had not Kusuma Shreshti, who was a Vaishya, chosen Kshatriya dharma and become a ruler? According to Brahmanic dharma, killing on enemy is sinful, but in Kshatriya dharma, it is prescribed duty. You are a Brahmin and a seeker of truth. Therefore, non-violence is a supreme duty for you, but not for a Bhatkar. So, if a man wants to get proper results from his actions, he should perform the duties according to the dharma adopted by him, irrespective of the caste to which he belongs. As you are at present ill, it is desirable and necessary that you should be with a doctor. That is why you were brought to me. Please note that Sripada Srivallabha will observe us every moment. In your childhood, you were reciting the prayers about Lord Vishnu. You were prattling with your friends in a funny manner. It is indeed a prayer for Lord Ganesha. For the words in the shloka. Shuklam Bharadram Vishnu Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayat Sarva Vignapa Shante. You were giving a perverted interpretation for the sake of fun. You were giving the following meaning. Shuklam Bandaram, that which bears white claws. Vishnum, that which is everywhere. Shashivarnam, whitish color. Chaturbhujam, 4 legs instead of 4 hands. Prasanna Vandaram, the donkey will have a gracious face. When it brays, the donkey will kick people with its hind legs. Dhyayat, so its face is only pleasant to look at. Sarva Vignapa Shante, I pray for abatement of all obstacles. In this way, you were jokingly giving a perverse meaning to that holy prayer and extend its meaning as a prayer applicable to a donkey. Shankar, but Lord Datta is a skilled one. The Lord in his presence would also rectify the mistakes made by you for fun. The washerman brought you to me on a donkey. At that time you were covered with dust and bore an ashen color. You come here with halting pace, and sometimes you walked on all your 4 legs, 2 hands and 2 legs, supporting yourself on your hands placed on the ground. Even though you come to the Adambara tree on all your 4 gasping for breath, you could not avoid the accident. Your hope of escaping from the serpents was believed in this way. You had a placid countenance if you did not convulse with pain. At last you were brought to the village of cobblers. In subjecting you to so many miseries, SRIPADA provided entertainment and taught you a lesson. Those tanners were freed from their ignoble births. You were teaching the prayer shloka of Sri Vishnu to your friends in a jocular manner. That is the reason why you have come to a position where you have to hear the teaching of a low caste person like me. Now you are here. Tomorrow you may stay in the house of your own caste people. If you disclose this incident even by mistake, they will ostracize you. With the good teaching of Sri Vallabha Das, the Brahminic arrogance in me decreased. The feeling that Vallabha Das was a pariah disappeared. I had brotherly love for him as he was my blood relation. I accepted him hospitality of Vallabha Das for 2 or 3 days and left the village afterwards. What can I describe about the mercy of Sri Vallabha? I was involved in very strange circumstances in a town called Vichitrapuram and came out in a strange way. When I was going on foot from Vichitrapuram, some royal servants approached me with humble obedience and inquired whether I was a Vaishnava or a Shiva. I told them that we were Samats who observe no distinction between Shiva and Keshava, but we show some inclination towards Shivaism, and that the pontiff of the southern monastery, Sri Shingar Shankaracharya, was our preceptor. They requested me to visit their king. I went with them for the royal audience. On the way, I understood some peculiar matters. That king was inviting any Brahmin who was seen on that day and was questioning, if this much is for that much, how much will be for this much? No one could give a satisfactory answer to that question. That king conducted a sacrifice some years ago to beget sons. Fortunately, he got a son. However, from that day Brahmins faced peculiar troubles as the son born to the king became a mute. The king was the opinion that because of the defective sacrifice performed by the Brahmins, his son became mute. Therefore, the king got the heads of Shaivati Brahmins completely shaved, marked their faces with the point of vertical Vaishnavite lines and paraded them on the back of donkeys. Likewise, he got the heads of Vaishnavite Brahmins cleanly shaved, marked their faces with horizontal lines made of holy hash, and paraded them seated on the back of donkeys. This situation became unbearable to both Shivas and Vaishnavas. The king suddenly began to behave a quixotic fashion. He was donating Totakura liberally to the Brahmins. He ordered that Totakura should be cultivated in a large acreage of the cultivation land. He was collecting half of the taxes in the form of Totakura. Cartloads of Totakura were collected and kept in the fort. Totakura was donated in very large quantities and Brahmins could not consume it fully. The cooking of rice and the eating of other victuals was forbidden for the Brahmins. After eating cooked totokura in the meals, they had to eat cooked or uncooked totokura as a snake. What can the poor Brahmins do? All the Brahmins who took great pride as scholars in logic, scholars in philosophy, and scholars in Puranas shed their arrogance and were praying to God silently and pitiably to redress their plight. There was a devotee of Datta who was an ardent follower of Datta sect among the Brahmins. He said that Lord Dattatreya becomes merciful at mere remembrance and that only the Lord can remove their miserable conditions. Therefore, all the Brahmins observed Mandala Diksha and started worshipping Lord Dattatreya. As his son was mute, the king wanted to encourage the sign language for the mute. He instructed the Rajaguru to write a book on the sign language for the mute. That preceptor of the royal court was formerly very haughty. He was in a very miserable state and undertook extensive research in the sign language. The discussion between Shankar Bhatt and Maharaj. I was taken before the king. I was perspiring profusely. I thought about the rigorous test SRIPADA SRIVALLABHA imposed upon me. I was mentally chanting the name of SRIPADA without any pause. I was getting courage that I never possessed before. The king posed the same question that he asked all the people. He asked me, if that much becomes this much, how much this much becomes? I replied solemnly, this much only for this much. The king was taken aback and said, Mahatma, you are great. I am blessed to see you. Only recently I had recollection of the knowledge about my past lives. I was a very poor Brahmin in my previous birth. I was growing totokura in my house. I was offering it freely to all those who asked for it. The Brahmins who received it from me were all wealthy and did not suffer from want of food and water. They simply took the vegetable gratis from me, but they did not cooperate with me on any day. They did not show any mercy on me. Whenever they were deputing me on their behalf for annual ceremonies of ancestors or for marriages, the householders used to give me large amounts of money and presents. Out of this, the people who were deputing me were snacking 99% and releasing 1% for me. The labor was mine and the reward was theirs. In addition, they were getting a free supply of totokura from my house. I was suffering from acute poverty, but I continued to donate totokura as usual. Those Brahmins were saying that the vegetable was very tasty and that no harm would happen by eating it daily. The circle of time rotated sweetly as I was donating totokura in spite of my object poverty. I am born as a king in this birth. Those Brahmins who received that green vegetables from me took birth as Brahmins in my kingdom. In this way, I was born many times richer and greater than them. By donating totokura, become a king. So I am donating greater quantities of that vegetable in cartloads. So I am asking everyone, what would be the magnificent state I would achieve in the future as a result of my present donations? Only you gave the correct answer to my peculiar question. The king concluded his speech. Then I explained Raja Totakura was very valuable under the circumstances of your previous life. But considering your present exalted position, its value is negligible. Being in a position to donate diamonds, precious stones and gold, you are still donating totokura. So however much you donate of that green leafy vegetables, you cannot get anything more except 100 times of that totokura. The king was very pleased with my reply. It gave great relief to my mind that for a casual reply of mine, the king gave an account of his previous life. I felt that thanks to the great grace of Sripada, the dishonor of riding a donkey was avoided. I had already mounted a donkey for misinterpreting the sacred verse Suklam Badram Vishnu for fun in my childhood. I offered salutation in my mind to Sripada who saved me from riding a donkey in a disgraceful condition. Then started the second test. The test was held in the sign language for the mute, which was very dear to the king. The Rajaguru began to examine me. Showing his fingers, the Rajaguru questioned me with the signs whether it was one or two. I thought that he was asking me whether I came alone or I was accompanied by anyone. I replied with signs showing one finger that I came singly. Then he showed me three fingers that suggested to me about Lord Dattatreya. I assumed that he was inquiring whether I was a devotee of Datta, felt that devotion should be kept as a secret, so I showed a closed fist and conveyed the message that it was a secret matter which belongs to the innermost heart. For that the Rajaguru offered sweets, requesting me with gestures to accept. I refused to accept and I showed a pack of flattered rice. I took some flattered rice from the bundle and gave it to them. My idea was that I liked flattered rice more than sweets and that they could also partake them. Then the Rajaguru in a profound voice praised, Raja, he is a great Pandit. It is already known that he is a great Vedic scholar who mastered all Vedas. He is also a great expert in the sign language for the deaf. All of this was perplexing to me. Then Rajaguru told the king, Raja, I asked him whether Shiva and Keshava are one or if they are different. Showing one finger, he said that both are one. I showed him three fingers, indicating that Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara exist differently. He replied by showing his closed fist and questioned, are not the five fingers of the hand existing collectively as one? I offered him sweets, requesting him to accept me as his disciple. Thereupon he indicated that he is not bothered with disciples and that he leads a contented life like Kuchela. Saying so, he turned down my request and gave me parched and flattered rice. I was astonished, I wondered how vastly varied the methods of understanding minds and thoughts in the world are. Then came the third and final examination. Rajaguru was reading the mantras from Rudra Chamaka and wanted me to explain their meaning. Remembering SRIVALLABHA, I began to explain their meaning according to my perfunctory knowledge. Ekam means number 1, Trikam means number 3, added to the previous one it is 4 and its mathematical root is 2. Pancham is the additional of 5 to the previously arrived 4 that gives 9 and its mathematical root is 3. Saptam signifies the addition of 7 to the already arrived number 9. The total is 16 and the root of it is 4. Etc. is all there. And the other factors are as following is mentioned and the above details are showing in the following way for better understanding etc. I explained in the foregoing manner the mathematical mysterious enshrined in the Vedic mantras of Rudra Chamaka. My explanation was highly appreciated by the scholars of the code. I was amazed at my own explanation. Again I added, all this is about the mystery of atoms responsible for creation. This was known to sage Kannada varies metals from according to the different arrangement of the number of atoms. On account of the great mercy of SRIPADA SRIVALLABHA, I came out of the Vichitrapuram in a strange way in the above manners. Victory of SRIPADA SRIVALLABHA.